Okay, welcome back to the Nimble 20. Got a couple pieces of advice for people. I've been working on the hull, which is green, covered in dust now, but also very, very faded out, oxidized, as they say. And how I'm going to get this hull back to being a nice shiny green is a couple of tricks. Nothing special. Let me show you the other side. Here's where I've been cutting it with cutting compound, which is using my trusty Makita. Let me go over here, I'll show you. 7-inch Makita polisher and a good bonnet. That's a real good tool, highly recommend that. Much, much better than your Harbor Freight sort of stuff for doing this work. You're really going to like spending the extra bucks for that tool. Anyway, here's what's going on. So I polished this out, and what I'm noticing, hopefully you can see, oh, you can see it. It's coming out really quite good. On the camera, you see all those little white dots. I'm just not able to polish that out. It's giving me trouble. And on the other side here, I've got the California numbers. And when I polished the far side, even though I polished, I couldn't polish out the California numbers. You could still see them because the boat is literally faded around those numbers, and there's about 1/1000th difference between the gel coat around those numbers. So no matter what you do, you end up with the numbers showing. I mean, a bit they're shiny and the colors match, but they still show. So what did I do? People are going to be a little surprised at this maybe. I actually sanded the hull, and I sanded the hull with 400 grit. And let me see. You can't even see the swirls. They're super fine. Now, the reason I've done this, and I've done this before, when you tend to polish these boats that are colored hulls and they're highly oxidized, you polish them out. A year or two later, you notice that in some places they're still glossy and dark green, and in other places they're fading faster. And what that is there's no way of really polishing the whole boat consistently. No matter how many times I try, I end up with this problem. So what I've come up with is if the hull has enough gel coat, I'm going to show you a scratch in this hull. Okay, you can see it right there. That scratch is pretty deep. It's a war wound where she hit a dock at some point. I'm going to leave it in there and just polish it so it doesn't show up. There's other tricks to get rid of that, but none of them work so very well. And one war wound for a boat that's built in '87 is just giving her character as far as I'm concerned. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this whole hull with 400. And then I'm going to polish it out. And what that will do for me is, 2 or 3 years later, the hull will still be consistent. But you have to have enough gel coat. Fortunately, these Nimbles are built with a real thick gel coat. These are nice built boats. I'm really impressed with them. I've worked on 2 of them so far, and both of them were well built. That said, that's what I'm going to do. Now, one of the tricks, just something that I've noticed over the years, sandpaper's gotten really good. I really like this stuff. It's worth the money versus the old-fashioned kind of sandpaper. Really cool stuff. But the other thing I do is I change my paper all the time.